This meeting is being held in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act, and adequate notice of this meeting has been provided as required by law. Specifically, the revised annual notice was emailed to the West Essex Tribune and Star Ledger on February 28, 2023. The agenda and resolutions for the meeting are available on www.livingstonnj.org. Certain portions of this meeting may be closed to the public for the purposes of personnel and/or matters outlined in the Sunshine Law. Decisions made and/or discussed in closed session will be made known to the public at a later time. Notice to the members of the governing body and township staff. Any use of electronic devices during this meeting shall be used solely for the purposes of township business, and any communication are subject to the Open Public Records Act. To the extent possible, this evening's Township of Livingston Council meeting will be live streamed via Facebook at www.facebook.com/Livingston Township NJ. Questions and/or comments will be also accepted by emailing livcomments@livingstonNJ.org by 4 p.m. on the day of the meeting. Each speaker should follow the rules of order in Livingston Code 2-15. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Councilmember Meinhardt?
Here.
Klein? Here. Begoli? Here. Deputy Mayor Anthony?
Here.
Mayor Vieira?
Here. As yesterday was Memorial Day, let us all rise for a moment of silence as we always remember those who sacrificed their lives for this country and our freedoms. Ketan Bhutani, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We're going to go a little out of order right now. We have the Essex County update with Eileen Fishman. Welcome, Eileen. Oh, we're going to get you. Andy's coming for the mic. So just to let people know who are on watching us on Facebook, we may be having some live streaming problems. However, if we do, the entire portion of today's meeting will be on in full tomorrow. Thank you. Eileen.
Hi, good evening. Eileen Fishman, your liaison from Essex County, bringing regards from Joe DiVincenzo, our Essex County executive. Just giving you a little update. We have our paper shredding event June 3rd at Bradford Avenue in Cedar Grove. The Burn Golf Course will open in mid-July, and we're working on our new exhibit at the zoo, which has Komodo dragons and live interesting animals, large interesting animals, and is going to be named after Livingston's own Pat Siebold. That's what I have. So anything you need, call me, need anything.
Thank you. And please thank the county executive for us. He always keeps Livingston in mind. Thank you very much, Eileen. Tonight we have three proclamations, and we're honored to read and present. The first one is one that this council presents each year upon the request from our wonderful police department. It's our annual 2023 Click It or Ticket. It's a seatbelt mobilization, which New Jersey joins police departments nationwide to enforce using seatbelts to raise continuous awareness, and that is held between May 22nd to June 4th. And just allow me to read the proclamation. Whereas there are 694 motor vehicle fatalities in New Jersey in 2022, and whereas approximately 40% of the motor vehicle occupants killed in those traffic crashes were not wearing a seatbelt, and whereas in the Township of Livingston, over the last 5 years, and that's between 2018 to 2022, a total of 6,618 crashes were reported to the Livingston Police Department. This equates to an average of 1,323 crashes per year. And whereas use of a seatbelt remains the most effective way to avoid death or serious injury in a motor vehicle crash And whereas the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration estimates that 135,000 lives were saved by safety belt usage nationally between 1975 and 2000. And whereas the state of New Jersey and the Township of Livingston will participate in the national Click It or Ticket seatbelt mobilization from May 22nd to June 4th, 2023, in an effort to raise awareness and increase seatbelt usage through a combination of high visibility enforcement and public education. And whereas the Division of Highway Traffic Safety has set a goal for further increasing the seatbelt usage rate in the state from the current level of 93%, and whereas a further increase in seatbelt usage in New Jersey will save lives on our roadways. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Michael M. Vieira, Mayor of the Township of Livingston, declare the township to support the Click It or Ticket seatbelt mobilization both locally and nationally from May 22nd to June 4th, 2023, and pledges to increase awareness of the mobilization and the benefits of seatbelt usage. And it's dated May 30th. So I know that we don't have any representatives from the police department, Barry. However, I would like you to present this to them tomorrow. We have a great police department, and it's led by Chief Marshutz and Captains John Drum and Tommy Smith, who do a wonderful job. And as we all know, we support our police department, and it's a great police department. So
Thank you.
if
I'll make
could
sure they
present
get it.
this.
Thank you.
Thank you. So we have a second proclamation tonight, and tonight we're honored to recognize National Gun Violence Awareness. I want to thank Lori Kahn for requesting this council support, and I also want to recognize, I'm not sure if he's here, Leo Bressman. If Leo's here, he's a town resident who is the New Jersey Communications Lead for Moms Demand Action. And tonight I've asked each of the council members to participate in reading the proclamation. So I'm going to start. Whereas every day, an average of 106 Americans are killed by gun violence, and hundreds more sustain non-fatal firearm injuries. And firearms are the #1 leading cause of death for American children. And
whereas Americans are 25 times more likely to be killed through gun violence than persons in other developed countries, and in each of the last 3 years, there have been more than 600 mass shootings, almost 2 a day. And whereas in 2021, the most recent year for which complete data is available, more Americans died of gun-related injuries than any other year on record. Overall firearm-related deaths increased to 48,830, the highest number ever recorded by the CDC. And
whereas protecting the Second Amendment rights of law-abiding citizens is consistent with keeping firearms away from people who are at risk at harming themselves or harming others, and whereas mayors and law enforcement officers know their communities best, as they are most familiar with local criminal activity and how to address it, and are best positioned to understand how to keep their citizens safe. And
whereas June 2nd, 2023 would have been the 26th birthday of Hadiah Pendleton, a teenager who marched in President Obama's second inaugural parade and was tragically shot and killed just weeks later. And whereas in honor of Hadiah and the thousands of other Americans whose lives are tragically cut short every year by gun violence, and the countless survivors who are injured by shootings every day, a national coalition of organizations has designated June 2nd, 2023 as the 8th annual National Gun Violence Awareness Day, and as June 2023 as the 8th annual National Gun Violence Awareness Month. And
whereas the idea of National Gun Violence Awareness Day was inspired by a group of Hadia's friends who asked their classmates to commemorate her life by wearing orange. They chose this color because hunters wear orange to announce themselves to other hunters when in the wilderness. And orange is a color that symbolizes the value of human life. And by wearing orange on June 2nd, 2023, and by acknowledging June as the National Gun Violence Awareness Month, Americans will help raise awareness about gun violence by honoring the lives lost and human hardship endured due to gun violence. And
now, therefore, be it resolved that the Township of Livingston reaffirms its commitment to reduce gun violence, to pledge to do all it can to keep firearms out of the wrong hands, to encourage responsible gun ownership, and to support common sense gun violence prevention legislation consistent with the Second Amendment. And now, it be further resolved that I, Mayor Michael M. Vieira, Mayor of Livingston, do hereby reaffirm the township's commitment to remember all victims and survivors of gun violence, to support local communities' efforts to prevent gun violence, to honor and value human lives, and to declare that we, as a country, must do more to reduce gun violence, and do hereby proclaim June 2023 as National Gun Violence Awareness Month in the Township of Livingston, adopted today. So thank you very much. And Lori, I want to thank you very much. I know you have a couple words that you want to speak, but thank you very much.
June 2nd is this okay? Can you hear me? Can everyone hear me back there?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. June 2nd is National Gun Violence Awareness Day, and with gun violence now the #1 cause of death for children in the United States, it is more important than ever before that the public be informed of developments in the law. Undoubtedly, most of us are disturbed by this statistic and sick and tired of the preventable gun violence. But how many of us are aware of the June 2022 Supreme Court decision in New York State Rifle and Pistol Association versus Bruin? A decision that dramatically raises the stakes for gun violence throughout the country, including in states like New Jersey, where gun safety laws are relatively strong. In Bruin, the Supreme Court struck down New York's 100-year-old concealed carry of firearms law, finding that it violated the Second Amendment. The 6-3 decision, written by conservative Justice Clarence Thomas, distorts history to rule for the first time that the right to keep and bear arms for self-defense extends outside the home. In December of last year, New Jersey enacted a new concealed carry law in response to Bruin. Immediately, the new law was challenged in 2 lawsuits, leading the Chief United District Court Judge for the District of New Jersey to temporarily prevent enforcement of substantial provisions of the New Jersey statute. In a May 16th ruling, that same judge found additional provisions of the New Jersey law illegal, in particular, that New Jersey could not deny gun owners the right to carry concealed firearms in a number of public and private areas. The New Jersey Attorney General is appealing the district court ruling to the Third Circuit Court of Appeals on an expedited basis. If you take anything away from this, be aware that now, as the law stands, it is completely possible that when they take their children to the zoo, the movie theater, or the local library, there may be people present with loaded firearms hidden from view. Now, more than ever, there is a real urgency to vote for candidates that will support common sense gun legislation. This Friday, June 2nd, from 5 o'clock to 6:30 at Taylor Park in Milburn, there will be a rally to honor gun violence survivors and to end gun violence. Thank you.
Thank you, Lori. Don't go away, Lori.
We have to get up.
Is Leo Bressman in the audience? I don't know Leo. Okay. Why don't the council go down and just present this proclamation to Lori? Do you want to have anybody else up with you, Lori? Okay. I didn't know if you had anybody else in the audience. We just want to thank Lori for giving us a call and asking us to do this. It's very important that we did it also. And it's something that we truly needs to get under control. So, thank you, Lori.
Appreciate every single one of you. I do this every single year. It means more than you know. So I love introducing them to us. Thank you.
You want to take a quick pic? Actually, here we go.
So as Councilman Klein just kind of reminded me, if my head looks red on Facebook right now, do not adjust your screen. It's just bad sunburn. So thank you for pointing that out, Councilman. So our final proclamation tonight is recognizing Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month. And I want to thank Falpandia for assisting our town clerk's office in preparation of this proclamation. And I'm going to read it. Whereas during the month of May, the culture, history, traditions, achievements, and contributions to the United States of Asian American and Pacific Islanders are recognized and celebrated. And whereas about 18 million Asian Americans and 1.4 million who trace their roots to the Pacific Islands reside in the United States, according to the 2019 census estimates. And whereas recognition for the Asian Americans and Pacific Islander Americans was first introduced by the joint resolution of Congress and signed into law by President Jimmy Carter in 1978 for a week-long commemoration and then expanded to a month-long recognition signed by President George H.W. Bush in 1992. And whereas Livingston is home to more than 8,500 Asian Americans and Pacific Islander Americans who make valuable contributions to our town's rich culture, economy, and diversity. Whereas Livingston is home to many inclusive and diverse cultural events and community initiatives that highlight the engagement of Asian Americans and Pacific Islander Americans. Now, be it further resolved that I, Mayor Michael Vieira, Mayor of the Township of Livingston, County of Essex, State of New Jersey, and the Township Council do hereby proclaim May 2023 as Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month. So thank you very much, Val, for alerting us to this. I don't know if you you want to say a couple words? Use the microphone.
Can I step inside?
Sure, absolutely. And I don't know whether, George, you have any words to say too, but.
So first of all, thank you all. At this point, I'd like to invite a couple of people who have been working very closely with me in bringing up the AAPI contributions and work in our town and through the state. Jana Yu, President of Livingston Chinese Association, and Ketan Bhuptani, founding member of Sanskriti of NJ, and the President of Gujarati Association. And George Shen. But we have been working very closely together at the state level. So first of all, I want to thank you, Mayor, for giving the proclamation in the Town Council, and special thanks to Carolyn for making it all happen. Thank you, Jared Cantor. Thank you, Ed Meinhardt, Rosie. Thank you, Al Anthony, Sean Kine, Russ, and Barry. Thank you so much, and thank you guys. I just love our town. I like to acknowledge AAPI people sitting right here, Nita, Sumi, and Rima. I just want to thank you all for making Livingston a welcoming community, a diverse community. It's very supportive of AAPI, and we love being here, and we love this town, and we love being a part of it. We look forward to more collaboration, more representations, and a lot more fun. And at this point, if Jenna, you want to say a couple things?
Firstly, thank you. Thanks everyone on the Township Council, people here, and especially for our, yes, we work very closely on multiple events in past years. And I present Chinese Association of Livingston here. We are very happy to see Livingston as our hometown, and we know America is an immigration country, and as soon as we step on this land, we see American as our home, and we like, especially, you know, Asian people, like Chinese people, we are like model citizen, but we don't take good care of ourselves. We only care about where we live. And this is what we are doing right now. We care about Livingston, we care about New Jersey, we care about United States of America. And we are continuing to actively contribute to the local and to wherever we can, and whatever, yes, we are able to, and to actively continuing contributing to this community and make this Livingston a better place for everyone. Thank you.
Good, thank you.
Yeah, I'll be very brief, and this was actually a good invite. Thank you, Fallon. Thank you for the honor, Mr. Mayor Vieira, for the Pledge of Allegiance leading. It was a surprise, but it was a pleasant surprise, so thank you for that. No, I think this is, Fallon and Jenna covered it. More than anything, this is really the time when diversity and the Asian Pacific Islander heritage is really honored and included. So thank you for that honor. I think one of the important initiative was Governor's Council, where Fal Pandya was it is representing us, all of us. And actually, it's a very good honor, so maybe a round of applause for Fal for that. But the important part is this is acknowledged, as you rightly mentioned, Mayor Vieira is from president's seat all the way down to the governors and now to our town. So thank you for doing it, and we appreciate your support in doing so. Thank you.
Thank you, and let's have the council come down and present the plaque to Fal. And did you have anybody else you want to bring up?
Anybody from here in the API community, please join us. So here is a quick thing. I do work with Trenton in representing Asian American and Pacific Islanders as part of Governor Murphy's commission. If anybody has any desire to get involved or find out what we are doing, please do reach out. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. We're going to move on to the agenda at this time. May I have approval of the minutes pending any corrections? We have the regular and conference meeting minutes from May 15, 2023, and we have the closed session minutes from May 15, 2023. May I have a second? All in favor? Okay. So right now on the agenda, this part of tonight's agenda is a process that the town and the town council is mandated by state law to proceed with. It's our municipal budget process. And if it sounds scripted, it's because it is. There's a certain way to present the budget and its ordinances and resolutions, and each council member does have a script in front of them, and they already know their parts in the process. Carolyn, will you please read ordinance number 10-2023 by title?
Yes, Mayor, this is ordinance 10-2023, calendar year 2023, to exceed municipal budget appropriation limits and establish cap bank, which was introduced on April 24th, 2023, and advertised according to law for its public hearing tonight, May 30th, 2023.
Do I have a motion to open the hearing? May I have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. The public hearing on ordinance number 1023 is now open, and there will be a 4-minute time limit per person. If you do come up to the microphone, please give us your name and address for the record. Seeing no further applications on the floor, I will entertain a motion to close. May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Opposed? Okay. Remember? Okay, the ordinance for 1023 was moved. It has been seconded. Do any council members have any comments on ordinance 10-2023? Carolyn, can you please read the roll call, please?
Council members Meinhardt.
Yes.
Klein.
Yes.
Begoli. Deputy Mayor Anthony.
Yes.
Mayor Viera.
Yes. So this ordinance is adopted by the Township of Livingston's governing body. We're moving on to Resolution 23-55 right now. Could I have is member number 3?
Oh, I'm sorry. Apologize.
I told you it was scripted.
Yeah, no, sorry. No, I'm number
No.
3.
So
Sorry.
we're at Resolution 23-55.
Okay. Mayor, I have a resolution 23-155 to present at this time for computing the 2023 reserve for uncollected taxes.
I offer the foregoing resolution and make a motion for its adoption.
Can I have a second?
Second the motion.
Do any council members have any comments on Resolution 23-155? Carolyn, could you please call the roll?
Councilmember Meinhardt.
Yes.
Klein.
Yes.
Begoli.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Anthony.
Yes.
Mayor Viera.
Yes. So this resolution is adopted by the Township of Livingston's governing body. Right now, we're going into the public hearing. Carolyn?
Mayor, this is the time fixed for the public hearing on the 2023 municipal budget. The budget was approved by the governing body on April 24th, 2023, was advertised as required by law on May 18th, 2023, together with notice of hearing for this time. Printed copies have been made available to the public per request, as well as posted on the township website, livingstonNJ.org.
Mayor, I have a resolution 23-156A regarding the reading of the budget by title only.
I offer the foregoing resolution and make a motion for its adoption.
I second the motion.
Carolyn, could you please call a roll call, please?
Councilmember Meinhardt.
Yes.
Klein.
Yes.
Begoli. Deputy Mayor Anthony.
Yes.
Mayor Viera.
Yes, the resolution is adopted. So questions must be confined solely to the municipal budget before us. School and county matters are not proper subjects to talk about and discuss at this hearing tonight and will not be addressed. So, I'm sorry.
I make a motion to open the public hearing on the 2023 municipal budget.
I second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? I now declare the public hearing opened on the 2023 municipal budget. Mr. Lewis, you do have a presentation for us tonight?
I do, Mayor.
Thank you.
Every year, as you know, we try and give a brief overview for the public benefit, and this will also be on the website tomorrow, summarizing each year's budget. The budget process begins at the end of the preceding year, and it involves a lot of hard work by the department heads who work with their staffs to develop their budgets, their costs, and certainly our CFO, Ann Cucci, who of course is here tonight and who's done an enormous amount of work on this. So I think it's a budget that we can all be proud of. The council introduced it a month ago, and with no further ado, I will move on. So first question a lot of people ask is when they pay their money, there's sometimes a misperception that because the town collects it and bills for it, that we get all the money. But the tax bills, we are the collecting agent and the billing agent for not only us, but also the Board of Education and the county. So for every dollar that a taxpayer pays, as indicated on the slide, 59.4% goes to the Board of Education for the schools, 20.1% goes to Essex County, and the Township of Livingston for municipal operations is 19.7%. And then there is a small factor called the Reserve for Uncollected Taxes that recognizes that if we bill 100% of the taxes, but we only collect 99%, then everybody won't get the money they need to fund their operations. So you technically bill for 101% to cover the fact that we don't always collect all of the taxes. So then the question is, in support of our municipal budget, you'll see that property taxes are by far the largest component of our revenues at 70.2%. We also maintain our own operating surplus budget. which it represents 6%. State aid has been basically flat for about 10 years now at 5%, so that continues to shrink as a percentage of the overall budget. There are ongoing efforts by a number of towns, Livingston included, to address some changes in the state aid formulas and where under certain previous statutes and amounts we were entitled to, we did not get. So we are hopeful that perhaps there's some relief in that front. Continuing down, fees, permits, and licenses are 4%. Pilots and the community service fee from Barnabas Hospital, 4%. Construction's been very busy. That's up to 3.8% of the revenues. Grants, shared services. Receipts from delinquent taxes are the prior year taxes that we don't collect that I just alluded to. When we collect them this year, we can anticipate them as revenue this year from last year. We are paid fees by cable and Verizon franchise fees, interest on costs and taxes, and court revenues. The rest is just miscellaneous. And then how do we spend your money? So by far the single highest appropriation in the budget every year is for public safety, which includes the police department, including all the uniformed officers, the civilian employees, dispatchers, as well as the fire department and the support of all of their operations. Public safety as a whole, which is obviously one of the most important functions that any government entity provides, represents 32% of our overall budget. Our debt and capital improvement projects, which is the roads, the sewers, the storm sewers, buildings, grounds, parks, playgrounds, represents 16% of the budget. Our Public Works Department, which maintain all of those, do all the plowing, maintain all the properties, maintain the buildings, and just do a tremendous amount of work in so many areas, represents 12%. So you'll see that those three items alone account for 60% of our overall budget. Continuing down the line, the library at 6%, which funds all of the operations of the library. There was a little change in the budgeting this year where the library, what's directly allocated to the library in a really, I think, was a great partnership with the library, had a lot of great dialogue, understanding the budgeting and how things were done. And we've changed some of the prior practices where certain sort of common expenses were partially allocated to the library to make it cleaner and everybody have a full understanding of what's being done. The library, and we've sort of shifted some of those prior allocations. Trash and recycling is 6%. Administrative is a broad one that covers the manager's office, the clerk's office, the finance department, tax office, engineering, IT, all those offices, and that accounts for 6%. Reserve for uncollected taxes, again, is an item that I alluded to earlier that we have to appropriate knowing that we're not going to collect all the taxes. Building department's at 3%, utility, street lighting, and fuel 3%. Senior youth and leisure services is at 2%, and they are also offset significantly. A lot of the great programming we do is offset by the fees that we do collect that go into a trust fund. So we're able to provide those at really great value. The reserve for tax appeals, when people appeal taxes, if there's a settlement or an adverse decision and refunds have to be made, that's what that fund's for. Our insurance, health department, engineering, planning, court, all make up the rest, and then just sort of a catch-all miscellaneous. So that's basically where we spend your money, and again, 60% of it on public works and public safety. Just briefly summarizing, our charge every year from the mayor and council is to do everything we can to maintain and improve the current levels of service, staffing levels, and because I think that everybody recognizes that's what makes Livingston the community that people want to live in and what the residents are entitled to. This budget does that. It budgets for agreed union contracts. It budgets for, and I'll speak to a little bit later here, very significantly increased pension and insurance costs. We do benefit from significant new revenues from not only our settlement with RWJ Barnabas, but also new pilots from the warehouse facility on Peachtree and the self-storage facility over on Route 10. The net result is the municipal tax increase is 1.82%, which I think we're very proud of, given we've had cost of living, inflation running at anywhere 6, 8, 10%. So we've been able to hold the line, and the net result is on the average homeowner, average assessed homeowner, which is about $770,000. The increase is $59.50 a month, or a year, which amounts to about $5 a month. So we think it's certainly manageable, and we've done, I think, a great job. And again, I'd like to thank, starting with Ann Cucci, but also all the department heads and really all the staff, the employees, for all their efforts to continue to provide all the services as efficiently as possible. This is a slide just directing to our fiscal condition, and I think it speaks to the direction and the sort of the fiscal control that we've implemented over really the last 5 years, and certainly when Ann came on board 3 years ago, it's increased even better. So very happy to report that our surplus balance actually increased year over year from the end of 21 to the end of 22 by $6.5 million. That was so it basically grew at the end year in 2021 we had in surplus fund balance $3.67 million, and by the end of 22 that was up to $10,200,000. That was a product of a number of factors, some of it which is part of the initial lump sum payment we got from RWJ Barnabas under the settlement, although that only included half of that, so we actually will get more this year. But also just a result of all the efforts being made over the years to streamline our operations. CFO came in and really cleaned up a lot of interfunds and collected certain monies and stuff. So I think we're really well positioned and in strong fiscal condition. Some of those efforts included, and we've talked about this before, the town had in the past incurred significant debt, and legally, you're allowed to continue to just roll that over on short-term notes without paying down principal, but you're limited to doing that for 10 years. We were coming up on that 10-year period, and I know Ann and I and the council in general were not comfortable with that, and we were fortunate to strike and go to long-term bonds a couple of years ago, not now, where we long-term funded over $50 million in debt at under 2%. Which results in savings of about $10 million. We did the same thing in our water and sewer utility, which also resulted in significant long-term savings. And also going forward, we have significant water utility improvements that we have to do because of the PFAS contaminants. We have developed a relationship and are funding those through the New Jersey Infrastructure Bank, which gives us basically below market rates where we only pay interest on a percentage of it, and also the potential for principal forgiveness. And then finally, going forward, there's a number of other projects that have been approved that have future pilot revenues, which are over and above what we have to tax the residents for, projected at about $5 million. So all in all, I think we're in very good shape looking forward. Things have really been stabilized. And again, thanks to Ann and her whole team and all the department heads. I always like to try and highlight, because it seems like every year, most of the increase we have comes from just a handful of items, many of which are outside of our control. So once again, this year, this sheet represents 7 items that have significant increases. Public Works operating expenses, that is really more tied to inflation. They probably, more than any other department, buy goods and materials and bulk things for their operations, and everything's gone up so much. I will have a copy of this slideshow for anyone who wants one, who's taking pictures of anything to save you. It's not film, I have to save you. But the vehicle line is up significantly, but that's really a reflection of we've changed to a model where we're acquiring vehicles through enterprise fleet management through a lease program that is much more beneficial. We're not funding vehicles over 10 years of long-term debt, and it's also allowing us to add more vehicles and replace vehicles more efficiently. So eventually that will be reflected in lower debt by not borrowing for those vehicles, but it is initially shown here as an increase. Our multi-line insurance went up. That was in part an increase in the GSM, the Garden State Municipal Joint Insurance Fund, but also this is one of the ones where I talked about in the past, a portion of the insurance was allocated to the library to make things cleaner. We've just absorbed it all and reflected that in the numbers. So that line has an increase. The employee group health insurance, everybody I think had heard this. It was in the paper, pretty well reported. Again, these are bills we get from the state that had a significant increase. Again, the PERS, which is the Public Employees Retirement System for the non-uniformed employees, and the PFRS, which is the Police and Fire Retirement System, the pensions. Those, again, are bills we get from the state. We can't negotiate them. We don't really have a choice. We had an overall 12.67% increase in that, represented by 403,000 increase in the police and 107 in the PERS. The reserve for tax appeals, we had to budget a pretty significant increase in that. This is not that unexpected. As you'll recall, we did a townwide revaluation about 3 years ago, and every time you do a revaluation, you get a flood of tax appeals, with the result being you have increased settlements that you have to make and payments. It is also, I think, somewhat reflective of a number of appeals languishing for longer than they should have under prior tax appeal counsel that are now getting settled. So I think that'll start to clean itself up. And then lastly, the debt service is a line where I mentioned that we had, the good news was we refunded and got our long-term interest rates under 2%. The bad but inevitable and unavoidable news is when you go to long-term funding, you do have to start paying down principal, whereas the mechanism they were using by rolling over notes that you didn't have to pay principal. So while we're paying significantly lower interest rate, there is an increase in the overall debt service. So, and again, these are 7 items out of probably more than 100 are in the budget. But again, this seems to happen every year. The total increase of those 7 items is $3,242,040, or 18%. The entire budget increase is only $3,481,000. So that means everything else in the budget collectively only went up $237,000, or 0.07%. So, you know, overall, there again, those are the majority of those are things that we couldn't control, and some of them are just related to, you know, increases that are unavoidable. The capital budget, we again have committed to doing capital improvements with the engineering department, and a big shout out to Jeanette Hardeby, Rocco Marucci, the engineers, and Nathan Kirchhoff in the utility engineering for all their hard work. The general capital has additional funding for the new DPW facility that we hope to be moving forward on very shortly. We've acquired the property, and with all the cost increases in preliminary designs, we're going to need more money for that. Overall improvements to public facilities, other streets and roads, LPRs for the police department. Those are license plate readers that are a very useful crime prevention tool for the department. Public works vehicles and equipment. Storm drainage improvements, computer and network equipment, water capital. We did a significant amount of water capital in the last year, and again this year, relating specifically to the PFAS contaminants. But these are just, in addition to those, the regular stuff that needs to get done in the water department, main replacements, repairs, and things. Those are budgeted for here. Sewer capital, $7 million. There's some significant upgrades need to be done to the water pollution control facility and pump stations. And then basically the 3 utilities, again, with all 3 utilities this year, we are maintaining the service levels in all utilities, the one exception being all the pool operations will be out of Haynes Pool because of the condition of Northland, but it's not as simple as that you just cut the expenses in half, because now with more people there, you have more lifeguards, more staff. The utilities, again, as alluded to in the capital fund, operational upgrades, enhancements. The capital funding is there for the needed improvements. Again, all 3 years, the last several years, we've not increased water or sewer rates, but certainly with the impending debt service for the PFAS remediation, there will be future rate increases required, but we will, of course, try and keep those as minimal as possible. This is the last year, I think the sewer and pool both rely on an increasingly small amount of American Rescue Plan funding for revenue shortfalls that will go away, which also contributes to why we'll need future rate increases. And again, no increase in the pool membership rates or fees as well, in addition to no increase in the water sewer rates. But again, the pool budget's only for operating the Haynes Pool. And that's basically the summary. So overall, again, I think a very good budget. It's solid, has a minimal impact on the residents, but maintains all the services. And I think, again, a credit to Ann, her team, the department heads, and certainly the mayor and council are really excellent stewards of the community's money and the taxpayers' money. And our marching orders from the mayor and council every year are to do everything we humanly possibly can do to maintain and limit the tax expense without compromising or sacrificing the level of services. So that's all I have.
Thank you, Barry. So at this time, the public hearing is now opened If anybody wishes to come up and speak, there is a 4-minute time limit per person, so the microphone is open. When you come up to the microphone, please give us your name and address for the record.
Are we just on this, or are we the general public?
No, this is just on the budget right now.
Just on the budget. Hi, Mr. Mayor, Justin Alpert, 56 Amherst Place. Thank you for all the work on the budget and whatnot. We should be looking at each category and see where the money is flowing out of the community and where it's being expended back in the community to have skilled and educated members of the community do the work that responsibly needs to be done to support and sustain a healthy, growing Livingston community. There are margins there that we can play with where we could be investing in ourselves. There are banking answers as well that need to be addressed. But in each category, we should be spending back in the community and striving to spend the money back in the community rather than just spending it and seeing it flow out of the community. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Justin. Name and address for the record.
Sure. My name's Robbie Blitz. I live at 14 Hickory Place, and I really just, a point of information. So I always believed that the pool had to be self-sustaining, that it was the membership dues that were covering it. But unless I misunderstood, that the township's also covering part of the pool. Is that not correct?
No, although they were lumped in one presentation, both the water is a separate utility, the sewer is a separate utility, and the pool is a separate utility. Each of those independently are what's called self-liquidating. They have to generate enough money to cover their operations. There are sometimes years where if you have an operating deficit in a utility, then the taxpayers in the current fund has to cover that operating deficit, and that gets made up. But no, the pool is not. It is being partially subsidized by federal American Rescue Plan money that was associated with the pandemic that the government made available to offset revenues, and pool utilities and sewer utilities were two that they were eligible for reasons unknown. They did not let you use it for water utilities, but no, there are no tax dollars directly going to the pool.
Jenna, you have to come up to the microphone.
If I remember correctly.
I need your name and address for the record.
My name is Jenna. I live in 5 Wingate Drive of Livingston. If I remember correctly, on the slideshow of budget for 2023, there is a miscellaneous spending, and it's 6%. And the budget for library is only 3%. So 6% versus 3% spending on library, I think is quite something. So could you please give me example of what is included in the miscellaneous spending?
Yeah, well, so in terms, I don't know, you can flip that back on. So the miscellaneous, that probably is made up of 50 other items that are small, but it's just, I can only list so many on the slideshow. I'd have to go through the entire budget to identify them. I'm happy to, I don't know if we have your email address, I'm happy to email you a document and I could give you more of a clear idea. But due to the nature of the presentation, I can only anything that's in miscellaneous in itself, standing alone, is lower than 1%. So these go down sequentially in order by percentage. So the aggregate, nothing in this everything in here is less than 1%. So it's a whole host of items that collectively the list would just be way too long.
But I think she might have mentioned that the library was at 3%, is that,
Yeah.
but it's at 6%, it's 3
Yeah,
million.
the library
It's
is
at-
6%
it's at
of our
6%,
overall.
Yeah,
Yes.
okay.
Yeah,
Sorry.
okay. Thank you.
Is there anyone else in the audience who would like to make a comment?
Mayor, I make a motion to close the hearing.
May I have a second? Second. Okay, Carolyn, can you please call the roll call?
Councilmember Meinhardt?
Yes.
Klein? Yes. Pagoli? Yes. Deputy Mayor Anthony?
Yes.
Mayor Viera?
Yes, the public hearing on the 2023 municipal budget is now closed. At this time, we are moving to adopt the 2023 municipal budget.
Mayor, I have a resolution 23-156B to present at this time for 2023 budget adoption.
I offer the foregoing resolution and make a motion for its adoption.
Do any council members have any comments on Resolution 23-156B? I do, actually. Barry, Ann, Russ, Adam, and all your department directors and division directors, thank you. Thank you for the budget that was presented tonight. In a time of COVID, keeping budgets under control hardly exists, but in Livingston, you did it. And again, we owe you a debt of gratitude for it. And you did it without cutting any services to our residents. Thank you. Here in Livingston, the council strives to accept a budget plan that our residents can accept. No one likes taxes, or even the word taxes, but taxes is what pays the salaries of our police officers and our Department of Public Works. It pays the salaries of all of our dedicated employees who provide the high-quality services to our residents. Livingston is extremely lucky to have so many services and programs and activities for all ages, from little children to our senior citizens of all ages in between. All of these services and activities will continue without any interruption. I know this year's budget preparations wasn't easy. See, Ann, if you were a man, you'd probably be bald by just pulling out your hair, but it is never easy. But what you presented tonight is a budget that I can easily say yes to. For those who will receive their tax bill, you need to know that the total amount of taxes you see is not just a reflection of us here on the municipal side. Your tax bill reflects mainly three parts. The municipal part, where we as council members vote on, is approximately 20% of your total taxes. That means for every dollar that you pay, we provide everything in this town for only 20 cents. The rest of your taxes reflect the largest allocations. The school tax, which the Board of Education prepares, and we as council members have no say over, and the county tax, where again the town council has no control over. The school and county tax equals to approximately 80% or 80 cents on every single dollar you pay. Just another fun fact for you to know is that the town is responsible for collecting all of the taxes. It's the responsibilities is for the municipal, school, and county. But before the municipal government ourselves can keep 1 penny of the collected taxes, the municipality must reimburse the school and county 100% of their taxes charged to our homeowners before we can bank even 1 cent of any tax payment. So for those who want to say that increasing the municipal tax budget by 1.82% is too high, let me add that our neighbor in West Orange proposed a 16% municipal tax increase. So again, Barry, Ann, Russ, Adam, and all of our township employees, thank you for presenting us a budget that is fiscally responsible and financially stable. Thank you. Is there any other council members who wish to make comment? Councilman Klein?
Thank you, Mayor. I also just want to say, I think that coming into this year, when municipalities around the state heard the news that we were going to take a tremendous blow in terms of having to absorb a large amount of the costs of the health benefits for public employees, everyone was really shuddering that we were going to get creamed on taxes this year. And I think what it goes to show is that the prudent emphasis on long-term fiscal health for our township that you have constantly placed up for us out front is really paying off. So when you refinance all of our long-term debt from short-term debt and saved us millions and millions of dollars, that was back at the time we knew it would save us that much money, and that was before we saw what inflation did and how inflation spiked. And so if we had to refinance at these rates, we're not saving $10 million, we're saving tens of millions of dollars. So the amount of benefit, and because of the foresight that you and Barry had and everyone that's involved, and it's just been tremendous benefit to taxpayers in this town. I think it's hard to overemphasize that. The other thing I would say also is we do see The emphasis on public safety, obviously something that we're all concerned about, and we are taking major steps towards advancing public safety at this point, and we'll be talking more about that in the future. But of course, that always remains our number one expense, and with good reason. We take it very seriously. It's the most important part of our job. I just want to say that if you look at one last point, if you look at, and I say this often about the budgets that are put in front of the council, when you look at our municipal tax rate increase of 1.82%, and Mayor, I didn't hear about the 16%, that's mind-boggling. But the number in front of us is a 1.82% increase. That is especially incredible when you consider what the rate of inflation is. So we constantly are passing budgets that are below the rate of inflation. And what that means is that our town government is getting smaller and more efficient. And I think it's really important that says that we are watching the tax dollars very carefully, and our professionals are doing right by the citizens of the town. Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilman. Is there any other council members who wish to make comment? Councilman Meinhardt?
No, Deputy Mayor. please go.
Deputy Mayor Anthony?
You are-
Eeny, meeny, miny,
You
moe.
outrank me. You outrank me.
Deputy
So
Mayor
Deputy Mayor,
Anthony.
please go ahead.
I don't know, Brian. Just real quick, I want to echo the words Michael and Sean about the budget. And Sean, it was a good point about the municipal tax increase of 1.82 on the same slide that was put up there. I like to bring it down to numbers on the assessed house, the average assessed house in town, which was $59.57, which is really only about $5 a month, as you mentioned, Barry. So kudos to Ann and your team, and Barry and Adam and Russ and Carolyn and everyone else who was involved with the budget. This is an easy vote. Bravo to all of you. The department heads, too, as far as, I know, Barry, you consult with the department heads, and they always are looking out for fiscal responsibility as well as, what they'd like, but what they can get by with, and do a great job. So, again, great job keeping the services at a rate of excellence while facing some tough issues this year and sharpening your pencil and really doing a great job here. So thank you. This was an easy vote. I'm going to vote yes on this.
Councilman Meinhardt?
So I guess one of the nice things about going towards the end, everybody has said what I was going to say. So, but I do want to thank Ann, our CFO. Ann, not only are you a great golf partner, but you're also a wonderful CFO as well. So thank you so much for everything. Barry, as always, we thank you, and Adam. And you hear many times us thanking the department heads, even though they're not here on these evenings. Once again, the department heads are also very responsible for this budget. Less than $5 a month is something, as an increase, I think all of us up here can be very, very proud of. I know that I am. And Sean, and I do agree 100%, one of the things I had circled was the savings of the remaining life debt of nearly $10 million. In fact, the foresight that you had to do that a few years ago was, kudos, and that really is a big savings. So, Sean, I agree with you. I agree with the mayor, deputy mayor. I'm sure I'm going to agree with Councilwoman Begoli when she speaks as well. So I just want to say I am very proud, and to look forward to voting yes on this budget.
Thank you. Councilwoman Begoli?
I echo everyone's comments. Thank you, Ann. Thank you so much. I know how hard you worked. We were here one night, and I know your staff, it was almost 10 o'clock, and they were still here working on the budget day in and day out. So thank you to you. Thank you for your staff, and for putting a really nice budget together that we as council members can be proud of and be able to tell our community that, $5 to some may be a lot, but to all the services that we receive in this town, I don't believe it is. I think it's fiscally responsible. I think we're doing the right thing for our residents, and we are immensely grateful. Thank you.
Thank you. So, Carolyn, could you please call the roll?
Councilmember Meinhardt?
With honor and pride, I vote yes.
Klein?
Yes.
Begoli?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Anthony?
Yes.
Mayor Vieira?
Yes. And with that, the resolution is adopted by the Township of Livingston's governing body. So thank you, everyone, again. We're moving on to public comment on agenda items only. So before I ask to open a public comment on agenda items, Mr. Lewis and Mr. Cantor, at the conclusion of tonight's conference meeting, we did go into executive session. Could you let the public know the reasons why and if anything can be explained?
Yes, good evening, Mayor. We discussed our fair share housing litigation. I advised the council that our compliance hearing, which was scheduled for tomorrow, has been adjourned to August. We are working through some issues with the Westminster Hotel the Livingston Mall, and 70 South Orange Avenue.
Thank you, Mr. Cantor. So may I have a motion to open the public portion on agenda items only? May I have a second? All in favor? Okay. At this time, the meeting is now opened for agenda items only. There's a 4-minute time limit. If a resident comes up to the microphone, can you please give your name and address for the record?
Hi, I'm Larry Bergman, 114 Fellswood Drive. I am a trustee of the Livingston Public Library, and along with me tonight, we have Cynthia and Yitao, who are fellow trustees of the library. And I just want to thank the council and Ann for our budget this year. Fortunately, we were able to maintain the wonderful service that we provide to the people of the town. There have been many, as you all know, there have been many negotiations through the year to arrive at this number, and I think it's a number that we're all happy with, satisfied with. And I take it as a reaffirmation from the council and the township of a recognition of how important the library is to this town. Thank you.
Thank you, Larry. Before you go, Justin, Councilman Klein?
I know I'm speaking for the entire council here. I just wanted to thank the board members for all of your volunteer time and effort that you put in to make the library as great as you can. We know that the amount of passion you bring to that, and thank you so much for your efforts there.
Thank you, Justin. Name and address for the record.
Hi, Mr. Mayor. Justin Alpert, 56 Amherst Place. Glad that Joe D. has a sense of humor in naming the Komodo dragon exhibit after the chairwoman. It reminds of the time that he named a 14th floor conference room after the speaker before he gently pushed her out. So that's interesting. National Gun Violence Awareness Month. There have been a number of state-of-the-art gun ranges that have opened up across the state. If we are going to be supporting responsible weapons ownership, we ought to be looking at opening a range in one of our districts so we can the responsible members of the gun-owning community can help support a responsible society that supports the Second Amendment beyond just, say every year issuing a proclamation with respect to gun violence awareness. We can actually claim a certain responsibility. Why now on 15/20/23? Why? We've had a hole in the ground on East Northfield Road and South Livingston Avenue for a year or two now. Why now? And why this redevelopment law? And where has this redevelopment designation, this non-condemnation, where has it worked previously? What are we doing with that?
Mr. Lewis, do you have any answers?
The redevelopment laws worked all over the state.
Where have they worked in Livingston? What are we proud of that we've done on this non-condemnation redevelopment law?
Well, you just asked where it's been done, and in my opinion, successfully. I've had experience and seen it done elsewhere. As it relates to this particular project, this project's been discussed ad nauseum over a number of years. It had the misfortune of getting approval right before the pandemic hit, and the resultant supply chain cost increases, interest rate increases.
Well, Mr. Mayor, why don't we do the whole corner of Northfield and Livingston, all four corners? Why just this one corner? Why not?
Because tonight we're prepared to do this just one corner.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, why don't we plan on doing all four corners together and have the whole four corners redesignated?
Well, maybe we will eventually, but we're going to do this one corner first.
Okay. 23159 Bergen County Cooperative Pricing System. This is really a county issue, right? I mean, you're sidestepping the public bid process, and once again, all this money flows into Bergen County. We've had this discussion before.
We are not doing that.
Well, we
A
are.
cooperative agreement means that they have gone out for bid and found us what the bid is. We are joining them in a collaborative agreement.
Right, so what you want to do with an exchange system like this is have an accounting of the money that flows into that system, flows into our county system and other systems, so there's a sense of balance. It's not unlike the issue with the county taxes. It takes a large portion of our taxes and goes to the county. We want to be measuring the returns that come back to us.
But our county has not elected to do that.
Our county has not done that.
However, we should be running the county from the localities. It's an opportunity for you to express real leadership from that dais and join with other mayors in other communities and take actual control over our county. Closed session, 23161. This really affects the community affordable housing policy. It has certainly been a disaster to date. We ought to be waiving privilege on this and holding these hearings in public. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Justin. Is there anyone else in the audience who'd like to come up to the microphone? Mr. Diner, when you come up, give your name and address for the record.
Richard Diner, 308 Buford Avenue. Thank you for your time. I'm here to talk about ordinance 15-2023, the one the gentleman was talking about before. So I'm going to answer some of the questions as to why we're here. As it was said before, this particular piece of property came before the planning board with an application, was heard in public, was approved, and the developer was given the opportunity to go in and build his project as he wanted because he was very much a part of the overlay zone that created what's here. Yes, the problem developed with COVID, but more people were hurt by that didn't get benefits. And we're here today because the only reason we're doing this is because it is exactly the same building ability that he has today that was given to him by the planning board. So why are we here? The only thing that the redevelopment can give him is, if the council chooses, is a tax abatement for 30 years. We're just sitting here and talking about our budget and the money we're saving, and there is no other reason or benefit to a redevelopment of a project that's already been approved and that the redevelopment program has no changes in it. So what we're doing, in essence, is rewarding a developer, because who's going to be the developer? The individual that currently has the approval owns the land. You're not going to hire another developer to build on his lands because you can't. You've taken out the ability within this ordinance that you have here to condemn and take the property back and then do something with it. So there's only one reason you would do this, is to be able to give the developer a tax abatement that I'm going to pay for, in addition to every other resident within this community, as a benefit to him for bad planning. Does he have other options? He does. He could sell the land, probably make money on it. I don't know for sure, but probably can. But if we go through and do this and create this area in need of redevelopment now, and then give him a tax abatement or a pilot payment in lieu of taxes, which is a euphemism for a tax abatement, then all we've done is pat him on the back for doing a bad job, leaving a hole in the ground for the last 2 years. What have we done with regard to that? Have we brought any fines? Have we done inspections? Have we put any pressure on him to clean up the nightmare that's sitting in the center of our town? No. What are we going to do? We're going to give him a pat on the back and give him my money. I am imploring you to do the right thing. Either send in the town officials to inspect this property, to take advantage of the ordinance that exists, make them clean it up, take the fences down, and even if they turns it into a park. But if you give him what this calls for, including taking out any teeth in it, because if he fails again, you can't take it back in condemnation. You've just taken that out of here. So please, do the right thing. This has been up for discussion more times than I care to.
Thank you, Mr.
We have
Diner.
personally spent hours and hours and hours on this.
Thank you, Mr. Diner. Thank you. Justin, that's not called for, Justin. Here. No applause? No applause. Thank you. Is there anybody else who'd like to make a public comment? Okay. So, since I see no other public comments, Madam Clerk, have we have any written comments received? Yes, I'm sorry, what did you say?
Not on agenda items.
Thank you. Okay, may I have a second? May I have a second on closing the public portion? May I have a second? Oh, thank you. All in favor? Opposed? Thank you. At this time, we are on, excuse me? Oh, Barry, did you want to say something?
Well, I could speak to it or speak to it when we get to it in the agenda, if that's more appropriate. Yeah, I'll just
Okay.
do it when we get to it.
Madam Clerk, could you please read ordinance number 08-2023 by title?
Yes, Mayor, this is ordinance 8-2023, amending Chapter 170, Section 90 of the Code of the Township of Livingston.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. May I have a motion to open a public hearing?
So moved.
May I have a second? All in favor? Yes. So the public hearing on ordinance number 08-2023 is now opened. Anybody may come up to the microphone. Please give your name and address for the record. There's been a motion. May I have a second? All in favor? Opposed? Thank you. May I have a motion to move ordinance 08-2023?
I'll move it.
It's been moved, it's been seconded. Do any council members have any comments? Council members or town manager have any comments on, oh, I'm sorry. Do any council members have any comments on ordinance 08-2023? Madam Clerk, please proceed with the roll call.
Councilmember Meinhardt? Yes. Klein? Yes. Begoli? Deputy Mayor Anthony?
Yes.
Mayor Viera?
Yes. Madam Clerk, please read ordinance number 09-2023 by title.
Ordinance 9-2023, floodplain management regulations of the Township of Livingston.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. It's been moved. May I have a second? All in favor? Yes. Opposed? None. The public hearing on ordinance number 09-2023 is now opened. Anybody may come up to the microphone. Please have your name and address for the record.
Motion to close the public hearing.
There's been a motion. May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Yes.
Opposed? May I have a motion to move ordinance 09-2023?
I'll move it.
It's been moved. May I have a second? Thank you. Do any council members have any comments on ordinance 09-2023? Madam Clerk, could you please proceed with the roll call?
Councilmember Meinhardt?
Yes.
Klein? Yes. Begoli? Deputy Mayor Anthony?
Yes.
Mayor Viera?
Yes. Madam Clerk, can you please read ordinance number 11-2023 by title?
Ordinance 11-2023, bond ordinance providing supplemental appropriation of $6 million for Phase A of well remediation and authorizing $6 million bonds or notes of the township to finance the cost thereof.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. May I have a motion to open a public hearing?
Motion to open the public hearing.
May I have a second? Second. All in favor? Yes. Opposed? No. What? No. The public hearing on ordinance number 11-23 is now opened. Anybody come up to the microphone? Wow, shoot. May I have a motion to close the public hearing on ordinance 11-2023? It's been moved. May I have a second?
Motion to close. Okay.
Okay, all in favor? All in favor? Yes. Opposed? May I have a motion to move ordinance 11-23? May I have a second?
Second.
Do any council members have any comments on ordinance 11-2023? Madam Clerk, could you please proceed with the roll call?
Councilmember Meinhardt?
Yes.
Klein? Yes. Begoli? Yes. Deputy Mayor Anthony?
Yes.
Mayor Viera?
Yes. So now we're at ordinance of our introduction. Madam Clerk, can you please read ordinance number 14-2023 by title?
Amending Article 14, Sections 170-73, Design Standards of the Township of Livingston Municipal Code by adding B, parentheses 16, Green Building Design Provision.
Second.
Is there any discussion?
Mayor, yeah, I'll just address this briefly. So what this ordinance seeks to do is take take some action in terms of green building, which is allowable by the town. So when normal construction is happening in town, the town is hemmed in by universal construction codes, which are adhered to by the state of New Jersey. And even if you'd like to see buildings, let's say, for example, have more solar or less gas hookups, or you want to promote any number of green initiatives, you can't do it because the town has no mechanism for asking builders or enforcing that builders build above and beyond what's recognized by the state code. That is except for in situations where developers are seeking to be named, have their properties named areas in need of redevelopment, and then the town actually is able to proceed with having, making requisite certain green development options. And this could be thought of as for every project that comes along, that this council could say, let's do this here, let's do that there. But I think it becomes much more effective to have a standard set of green development options that are put in place for any project that should come along like this. And I think that this ordinance will make Livingston a model in the state. I know I've certainly talked to people, council persons in other parts of the state who are really interested in this idea. And we did a lot of research on this. We talked to developers, we talked to green experts to try to find low-hanging fruit where maybe a developer doesn't think that green building is something they usually think of. Well, if they want to build, they'll have to think of it now. But we also didn't want to tip the scales too far to the other side. Some of these things have costs, and we didn't want to make things too onerous. But the idea here is that these buildings will actually become more efficient, save money over time because of the green construction, and these buildings will be an enticement to the kind of residents that Livingston wants to see. People who are attracted to these kinds of construction projects are educated, they're socially responsible, and they usually have some wealth that they would spend towards paying rent in a place like Livingston. So I think this is an ordinance that this council is going to be very proud of, and it'll be a model for the state. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilman. Is there any further discussion? Madam Clerk, please proceed with the roll call and fix a date for the second.
Councilmember Meinhardt?
Yes.
Klein?
Yes.
Begoli? Yes. Deputy Mayor Anthony?
Yes.
Mayor Viera?
Yes.
And Mayor, the date for the final hearing, public hearing on this will be June 26, 2023.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, can you please read ordinance number 15-2023 by title?
Ordinance 15-2023, adopting the East Northfield Road and South Livingston Avenue redevelopment plan pursuant to the local redevelopment and housing law.
May I have a second? I'll second it. Is there any discussion? Mr. Lewis, do you have any discussion on this one?
I did just want to comment in terms of some of the comments that were made from the public. Initially, this is only for the redevelopment plan. This is not for a tax abatement, although admittedly, this does would make the property eligible to seek a tax abatement. In that regard, there was a question about, well, then why don't you do it with condemnation? The case law is very clear. There's been a number of recent decisions in terms of the public ability to condemn property for a redevelopment project. You can't stockpile property. It has to be, you have to have a showing of a necessity that this particular property is necessary to complete an existing identified redevelopment project, which doesn't at this moment hold. The other important thing is to remember that with a redevelopment plan, somewhat related to the ordinance that was just introduced, the redevelopment plan incorporates some sustainability requirements and the things in the ordinance that the developer would not be obligated to do without a redevelopment plan. The redevelopment plan also opens the door for a redeveloper's agreement, which allows us to negotiate certain terms, conditions, timelines, and things that you could not do. To be clear, the property owner currently could sit and leave the property, other than code enforcement issues, maybe make him take the fence down, but he could leave it as a vacant lot for as long as he chose to sit on it. The assessed value of that property is such that the taxes generated would be fairly nominal, maybe $15,000 a year, of which we'd get 20%. So if a pilot agreement were found to be necessary to cause the project to go forward and be developed, the pilot revenues would significantly outweigh our 20% of $15,000. So there's, economically, anytime you look at a pilot, you have to look at the current condition, not what would that project pay with full taxes, because the necessary showing to be entitled to a pilot is that the project can't go forward. And this project, and if and when we get to a pilot discussion, there will be much more evidence, but as I alluded to earlier, this project happened to hit at a time. The developer was initially interested in an additional story, which would have been more units, more revenue, likely would have made this project viable even now, post-COVID. But the town was very adamant that we didn't want a fourth story and trying to maintain it. They were able to initially pre-COVID, before cost increases, interest rate increases. The numbers would work with the limited number of units and the limited height that they could get. Even once cost increases, the idea was floated again about adding another story, and the council was committed to not having a fourth floor. So, we have to deal with the realities of where we sit today, which are dramatically changed circumstances from 2 and 3 years ago. But again, tonight, the only thing on is for the plan. The plan adds additional benefits. In addition to the potential eligibility for tax abatement, it also adds sustainability requirements and the ability to enter into a developer's agreement. So I just wanted to clarify that.
Thank you, Mr. Lewis. Is there any other discussion?
I did want to say something. I was not here for all the hearings that we've had. I was not on the planning board when this project came up. I know that I did ask for it to be pulled from the last meeting because I felt I did not have enough time to do my due diligence in researching and understanding what this redevelopment project would mean to the town. I've listened to residents who have reached out to tell me how they felt about the project. Of course, I have read all the many comments that have been written on Facebook about we have a new weed yard in town or there's a hole in the ground. My mom used to tell me when you make big decisions to consult your pillow and take your time and to do your research. And I believe I've done that tonight. I am not at the pilot discussion, I'll make that clear. I don't believe every project is deserving of a pilot. But I do believe we are deserving of a town where you enter it at this particular intersection and you see something worthy of our beautiful town. I know the builder owns this property outright. I know we can have a weed yard forever. That I know. I know we can have a hole in the ground forever, and that is not something that I think I can personally live with or be responsible for. I'm going to separate myself from the pilot discussion and only enter into the discussion of tonight, what's before us, and that's what I'm going to consider. And after doing my due diligence, I can tell every resident that I think most residents would say, well, have them clean it up. Tonight, part of the budget hearing, I did ask for another code enforcement officer if it was even remotely possible so that we can have someone going out and enforcing the laws that we have put in place so that our town remains looking beautiful, so that we can be proud of it, so that we have residents following the rules that we've set forth. I do not disagree that it is a bitter taste to move forward with something that is so passionate with the residents. We all have sides. Everyone feels some kind of animus towards going one way or being forced to go in another direction. But you have asked us as the council to lead this town and to build it to be something that we could be proud of for our future generations. I would not be proud of leaving a weed yard or a hole in the ground in the center of our town. I could not live with that. So tonight I am going to support the redevelopment plan. Although I did not, I'm going to be honest. Sometimes I don't believe that everything requires a pilot. But tonight I think I've done my research enough to say that this is not what I want for tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Is there any other further discussion?
Can I ask?
Deputy Mayor Anthony?
Yeah, Barry, as Mr. Diner was pointing out, with fines and inspections, has there been any fines on that site at all? And I'm looking at, it actually was, Mr. Diner, Mr. Alpert noted, on TAP, construction at Northfield Center in Livingston begins with demolition of Baptist Church. This is dated April 2021, so we're over 2 years. Has there been any fines levied or inspections, or do permits run out after a while, or how long can you keep up a construction fence? And I guess some of the points Mr. Diner was making.
Well, I can certainly follow up with, in terms of whether the permits, with the exception of the fencing, and the owner has been responsive. We passed an ordinance to allow you to put a sign up that showed that thing. He put that up. He's repaired and responded to the fencing when asked, so I don't know that it's risen to the level of fines. I've found the owner to be cooperative and responsive. So other than whether the fence should still be up there or not, I don't know what else there would be fines for.
How long does a construction fence stay
Well,
up with no construction?
Yeah,
going on?
I'll have to follow up with the construction officials. Generally, obviously, the fence is up as long as the permits are open. Permits are open, you can get extensions for permits. There are the ability of the town, if you go a certain period of time without any activity, where you risk losing building permits, but that requires an action by the town. I can certainly check with a construction official on this. I think obviously there was an understanding that a lot of this time period was during the pandemic. Things were not available, and then as the economy went further south and the project didn't move. But certainly more than happy to continue to work with the owner to improve the appearance, check with code enforcement in terms of, and with the construction official in terms of whether the permit's open and whether the fence should remain up or not, or whether there's a preference. Certainly if there's not anything actively going on in there and there's a preference to not have the fence, we could certainly discuss not having the fence. But obviously, if it's going to at some point restart under construction, then the fence would go up for safety reasons.
But as Councilwoman Begoli, I've received calls too about, an eyesore and all of that. Is there any violations right now with that black tattered fence of the maintenance code?
Well, I don't know the code off the top of my head. I'm sure the fence needs to be maintained, and again, like I said, I can certainly approach the owner about, there's fabric or whatever screening on the fence that I think comes ripped over time with wind and stuff, and obviously that looks, any kind of screened fence doesn't look great, but a ripped one looks worse. So we can certainly reach out to the owner about replacing potentially that fabric to improve that part of it. And again, if there's going to be some period of time before any construction would restart, if there's a preference, if then you don't need a construction fence and the fence comes down, I guess that would look better than a fence, but it's still just going to be a vacant lot. Yeah.
And I don't disagree. I don't disagree at all, Deputy Mayor.
I don't think I was saying anything to disagree. I was
No,
asking
you were.
questions.
I don't disagree with your statement that the property should be still, even though it may be a construction site or it's waiting for construction, that it should be maintained. Like I said before, it is the center of our town, is what people come into when they visit Livingston, and I do think that property, even though it may be getting ready for construction, should still be maintained and looked apart. I agree with you.
Is there any further discussion?
Mayor, I have a question also. Barry, if this passes tonight, when does a pilot discussion happen?
Well,
Timetable on that?
Yeah, I think soon, because obviously we'd like to, if the applicant has submitted an application, it's being reviewed. As we reported to you, our experts have reviewed it and even adjusted some of the assumptions and some of the projected costs and agreed that as originally approved, the project would not be feasible, not by this developer, by any developer. And that's the analysis that we do when we look at an application. It's not to say, well, this particular guy can't afford it, but somebody else can afford it. They look at what does the project cost to build as what's approved, what kind of rents are you going to take in, what are the expenses, and would anyone do it? So obviously, if our goal, which I think is everybody's goal, is to get this project moving and built and turn into what I think we all agreed was going to be a really attractive gateway to the town, then I would say we'd want to expedite the discussions to try and get the project jump-started.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion? Madam Clerk, please proceed with the roll call and possibly fix a date for second.
Councilmember Meinhardt.
Yes.
Klein.
Present.
Begoli.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Anthony.
No.
Mayor Vieira.
Yes.
Mayor, the ordinance does pass to go to the second hearing, which will be June 26, 2023.
Thank you, Carolyn. So, Madam Clerk, can you please read ordinance number 16-2023 by title?
Ordinance 16-2023, appropriation of $2,655,000 bonds to finance water utility improvements.
We have a motion to approve ordinance number 16-2023. May I have a second? May I have a second? Second. Is there any discussion? Madam Clerk, can you please proceed with the roll call?
Councilmember Meinhardt. Yes. Klein.
1623.
16-2023, Councilman.
Begoli. Deputy Mayor Anthony.
Yes.
Mayor Viera.
Yes.
And Mayor, this will also be, have its final hearing on June 26, 2023.
Thank you. We're almost getting there. Madam Clerk, can you please read ordinance number 17-2023 by title?
Ordinance 17-2023, appropriation of $4,225,000 bonds or finance to finance sewer utility improvements.
May I have a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Madam Clerk, please proceed with the roll call.
Councilmember Meinhardt.
Yes.
Klein.
Yes.
Begoli. Deputy Mayor Anthony.
Yes.
Mayor Viera.
Yes. Is there a date?
Yeah, oh, I'm sorry, yes. The public hearing will be June 26, 2023.
Good. Final one, Madam Clerk, can you please read ordinance number 18-2023 by title?
Ordinance 18-2023, appropriation of $3,935,000 bonds to finance road assessments and improvements.
May I have a motion to approve? It's been moved. May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? I'm sorry, is there any discussion?
Mayor, I would just say that one of the questions we often get on the council is, when is my road going to be repaved? And what I'm always quick to point out, I know everyone else in the council is the same way, is that we spend a lot of money repaving roads in this town, and it's important to do that. And if we tried to do every road as often as people wanted, taxes would be incredible. People have to remember that Livingston is essentially the same size as Newark. And we can't get to everyone's roads every year, but we do the best we can, and it's always a huge number on our capital budget to do as many roads as feasibly possible.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion? Madam Clerk, please proceed with the roll call and a date.
Councilmember Meinhardt.
Yes.
Klein.
Yes.
Begoli. Deputy Mayor Anthony.
Yes.
Mayor Viera.
Yes.
And Mayor, this will also have its final hearing on Monday, June 26.
Good. Thank you very much. We're at the consent agenda at this point. All matters listed with an asterisk are considered to be routine and non-controversial by the council and will be approved in one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a member of the governing body so requests, in which case the item will be removed from the consent agenda and considered in its normal sequence on the agenda as part of the general orders. Madam Clerk, can you please read all the resolutions on the consent agenda?
Can we pull the one dealing with the same issue here with Northfield, 160? I'm going to vote no on that, too.
Okay. Thank you. So, Madam Clerk, can you please read all the resolutions? Deputy Mayor, they will the clerk will still read 23-160, but then we'll do a separate vote on that.
Resolution 23-158, resolution authorizing the award of a contract to Bayshore Recycling Corporation. Resolution 23-159, authorizing purchases under Bergen County Cooperative Pricing System. And Resolution 23-160, referring to the Planning Board for review and comment a redevelopment plan entitled East Northfield Road and South Livingston Avenue Redevelopment Plan pursuant to the local redevelopment and housing law.
Thank you. So, Council, Deputy Mayor Anthony has asked for 23-160 to be voted separately. Is there any other council members that wish to remove anything else? May I have a motion to approve the resolutions remaining on the consent agenda?
So moved.
May I have a second? Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Councilmember Meinhardt.
Yes.
Klein.
Yes.
Begoli. Deputy Mayor Anthony.
Yes.
Mayor Viera.
Yes. So may I have a motion to approve resolution number 23-160? May I have a second? May I have a second? Any discussion? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Meinhardt.
Yes.
Klein.
No.
Begoli. No. Deputy Mayor Anthony.
No.
Mayor Viera.
Yes.
So, Mayor, this resolution doesn't get adopted, doesn't pass.
So in order for the ordinance to be, in order for the ordinance to be heard, it has to have a planning board review. So this council, although introduced the ordinance, doesn't want to have the planning board review it for consistency with its master plan. So I guess the suggestion would be then, Mayor, if at some point in time, the council, the ordinance could stay introduced, then we could have a further resolution to have the planning board review it. Mr. Lewis, do you agree with?
I'm not even sure that, well, I think it's statutory that
It is.
shall be referred. I don't even know that simply by introducing the ordinance, it's an automatic referral, to my knowledge. I'm not a,
It's, yeah, so, I mean, it's traditionally done by resolution, and the council rejected the resolution to refer it to the planning board.
So at this point, what is it, dead?
Why don't we just table
What-
this conversation and have a conversation later?
What do you?
No, I mean, I guess it's not going to be referred to the planning board, so the hearing will be adjourned. It won't be on June 26th.
Hearing's adjourned.
So then, is this resolution, you have to put this resolution back on, or?
I guess at the
don't know
next
if I'm
meeting, we'll
looking at Mr.
carry,
Lewis or
at the
Mr.
next
Cantor.
meeting, we'll have a discussion as to when the public hearing will be carried to.
It can't be carried on the 26th.
Okay, so the hearing, Carolyn, will not be on the 26th for,
Unless Mr. Lewis has another thought, but the council used to refer it without resolution, although the proper procedure is to do it by resolution. And we had a resolution, and it was turned down by the council, so there's no referral to the planning board. So it'd be my opinion that at the next meeting, we have, the public hearing's been noticed, we'll, I guess, adjourn it because the planning board has not given its master plan review of the ordinance yet.
I'm just looking at Mr. Lewis. He looks like he's thinking.
well, no, I'm not going to get my answer right now, but this is,
Yeah, so-
never understood why we did.
So what are we doing,
resolutions in
Mr.
the first
Cantor,
place.
at this point?
So the public hearing is currently scheduled for the
Yes.
26th. At that time, it's unlikely that we'd be able to have a public hearing because we would not have had the referral to the planning board and the planning board's review of the ordinance with consistency to the master plan.
Okay, thank you.
But at that time, maybe we'll have further clarity.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Cantor, Mr. Lewis. At this point, we're on the public portion on any subject. May I have a motion to open the public portion on any subject? May I have a second? All in favor? Meeting is now open on any subject with a 3-minute time limit. If you do come up to the microphone, please have your name and address for the record.
Good evening, Mayor, council members, Craig Genetti, the law firm Dave Pitney, on behalf of MG Property One Urban Renewal LLC, representing the developer of the Livingston Avenue East Northfield property. I'm a little baffled by kind of what just occurred. There is an ordinance introduction scheduling a second reading for June 26th. So there'd be a public hearing on June 26th to discuss the ordinance. By law, when you introduce an ordinance, it has to get referred to the planning board. I don't know why the council is not referring it to the planning board.
Mr.
not a rubber stamp.
Justin, please. Yeah, I just did, Councilman.
And reserve his time for this, please. Russ, thank you.
It is just procedural. If you introduce the ordinance, then you have to have the resolution, or at least the way it seems the council in Livingston does it, they refer it to the planning board via a resolution. By law, it has to get referred to the planning board. If we're trying to move this thing along, I don't know why you would not refer it to the planning board to do what they're obligated to do under the statute and then go to a second reading. We're all trying to move this along. This is just only further delaying moving it along. It's not anything controversial. You already introduced the ordinance. So let it go to the planning board, and then it can come back for a second reading for a public hearing. If appropriate, I'd ask for the council to reconsider and re-vote on that resolution so we can move it forward.
I'd have to go with my attorney, whatever he recommends.
So, Mayor, I mean, I don't recommend voting. I mean, I agree with Mr. Genetti that, I mean, the ordinance could be referred to the planning board, and this council would have another opportunity to vote on it for adoption and public hearing.
But with the no vote, it cannot.
Yes, Mayor.
I'm just, and certainly in my experience, and I'm reading 455D 26 referral powers, and all it says is prior to the adoption, development, regulation, revision, or amendment, the planning board shall make and transmit the governing body report. Goes on to say that council has to review the report. If they don't do it within 35 days, then the council can act. But there's nowhere in there a provision for the council to affirmatively refer it. And I've not seen that before other than here. And I'm not even sure. What's that?
Your microphone?
Then if that is the case, why was it asked of us today?
Well, that's where I'm saying is I haven't typically seen that in the past on an agenda where they just were automatically referred.
So it wasn't being done this way, and our prior chairman, Peter Klein, asked that this be added. I wasn't counseled. I don't know why we have a resolution on it, but this is a new change to this council. I think prior, we did not have these resolutions to refer. It was a recommendation by Chairman Klein to add this resolution to the process.
Chairman Fernandez,
Chairman Klein.
but he's no longer the chair, so when was asked to do that?
This is the first time I've seen it on the agenda, to be honest with you, Councilman.
Well, I'm just saying, so when did he ask us? Because
Been doing this 25
he's
years.
not the chair.
So
He said January, so I'm just kind of curious.
So last year, he advised me that he thought my predecessor was doing it wrong, and that we should have a resolution on every agenda referring it to him.
Okay.
I will say, this is the first time I have actually seen a resolution. We've passed many zoning ordinances by this council. This is the first time I've seen this resolution referring on the agenda, but it was here and it was voted down.
But I guess theoretically, since it's been introduced and the planning board is obligated to review it, or if they don't within 30 days, the council can act. The planning board can be notified, this ordinance has been introduced. Under the statute, you have an opportunity to review it. If they don't review it, the council can still act in 30 days. But again, that pushes past the June 26th with only further delays moving this project forward.
So, and again, only a council member who voted no can move to reconsider.
Not all the council members.
No, only, if we wanted to reconsider, only a council member who voted no can move for reconsideration.
Councilman Meinhardt, did you have something to add?
Well, my question was.
Your microphone, please.
I was answering Councilwoman Begola because she sits on the planning board, is when the next planning board meeting is, and it's June 6th, as I was informed. And our next council meeting is June 8th, I believe it is? But there's not enough time.
Well, there wouldn't be enough
There
time for
wouldn't
this
be enough
ordinance to
time
get
anyway.
published, so this
So-
was going to be on 26th.
Is there a
anyway.
meeting after that before June 26th?
There is. Of the planning board?
Yeah.
I can tell you which.
I see, Russ, don't worry about it. We're in discussion right now.
June 20th,
So a resolution could be adopted at the next meeting,
at June 20th.
at June 8th, and could get reviewed on June 20th.
Well, again, I'm still wrestling with a requirement of a resolution, whether if the council doesn't pass a resolution and then 35 days lapses and the planning board hasn't issued a report, have they been sort of precluded from doing their duty? And then do you just move on the ordinance? Because I've never, again, I've been doing this 25 years, planning board attorney for 15 years, never seen a requirement of a resolution, and certainly would never expect a vote to introduce the ordinance but not to refer it. But
So, Mr. Lewis, I have a suggestion. I presume, I'm sorry, Council. I presume a redevelopment council drafted this resolution? I mean, I didn't draft it. I don't know how it got.
didn't draft
I presume that it was,
I have a question. I know it was turned down, this resolution. Could we reopen it and table it, or once it's turned down, it's turned down?
any member who voted no can move to reconsider it, and then you could have an intervening motion to table if there was a pending motion to reconsider.
Okay, so it'll be only the
You
three of them.
need a member of the prevailing party to move to reconsider.
Is there any member of, who voted no that wants to reconsider this and table it? Okay. Okay, thank you very much.
Let's move on then, Mayor.
I'll provide a legal opinion to the council as soon as I can regarding, where we stand.
Thank you. Name and address for the record.
Karen Garland, 293 Eisenhower Parkway.
And Josh Garland, same address.
I've been a CPA for more than 40 years, and during those years in both my professional and volunteer life, I've worked on my share of budgets. So I can certainly appreciate, Barry and Ann, what you've done in the budget, and want to commend you for all of your efforts. And since I know you'll be starting on the new budget soon, I want you to consider a new budget revenue line item to be considered, and that being the cannabis excise tax that will help raise additional revenues for the community and help keep those increases for taxes at a minimum that you were able to achieve this year.
And that being said, we are a little disappointed to not see any ordinance for the 5 out of the 6 licenses. The council mentioned they were looking to hopefully approve in the coming meetings. But that being said, looking at a silver lining in the situation, we think it could be a good opportunity to prioritize simply reviewing retail to then draft an ordinance that covers all 6 licenses in a single one.
So just to let you know, it was planned to be on the conference agenda for discussion, and then after the conference agenda, probably the next meeting after. However, there was a delay, but Mr. Lewis has promised that the next meeting, it will be on the conference agenda for, so the council can discuss it.
Excellent, happy to hear
And
that.
that is a promise, correct, Mr. Lewis?
On the
On the ones that we already passed, the other, I think, 5 classes. So,
Well, LaCorian's from
if we have a meeting on June 8th, we will have that discussion on June 8th about it will not be at the regular meeting to vote. We're just going to discuss it, and then possibly after that meeting, it'll be on the agenda.
Excellent, we're happy to hear that, but we'd also like to, again, hope you prioritize reviewing retail as soon as possible. It is what the people voted for and what they do want. They want access to cannabis here in Livingston. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor, can I make a comment before we go on?
Councilman, Member Meinhardt?
Are we going to decide, are we putting on the calendar some dates to have some open forums again on the retail perspective of cannabis?
Yeah, I think what's going to have to happen is Barry and the planning board is going to have to reconvene another committee and just discuss the retail portion of it. I think at that point, once their report comes out, then we could do exactly what we did. But are you talking a public hearing like we did in the very beginning?
We had two public hearings on Zoom last year, where the town had a chance to weigh in. And we certainly, saw and we heard what the town had to say then. Be curious to see if anything has changed.
I guess if any council member wants to suggest that, I'm open to it. Mr. Lewis, that would help with the report also.
Yeah, well, it certainly would help with your decision that you 5 have to make,
Okay.
getting the public input.
Okay, we can do that, Councilman Meinhardt. Justin, did I see you come up? We didn't want to waste any of your time, Justin. Thank you.
Hi, Mr. Mayor, Justin Alpert, 56 Amherst Place. Upon reflection, the pilots are just silly. They're an exemption to our standard assessment methodology, which itself is fundamentally broken to begin with. And then you look at the 2% item up there for appeals, we're being taken advantage of. And it's the same, it's a racket. And the pilots and payment in lieu of taxes, the taxes themselves are fundamentally broken. So the pilots are broken and the whole system's broken. And we ought to take a leadership position in this community in actually accounting for what we value in healthy community growth. Point 2. Thursday night, we attended the July 4th committee meeting. You were there, sir. You were there, sir. One of the big ticket items that came up is that Summit Medical Group was sold to some out-of-the-state company, or sold to City MD, which was then sold to some out-of-state company. Now, Summit Medical Group came in for half the cost of our fireworks every year. And now this out-of-state company does not want to support this town because they are busy trying to bleed this community dry of as much funding as as possible. And we heard up here that we're having problems paying for the health care. We're not having problems, but absorbing the cost of health care. The insurance system is broken. There's no local accountability on health care. When we all moved here, we all had local doctors with names that everyone knew who we'd bring our kids to. And now, what is it, just clinics? You know, opportunity to actually solve the medical problem, the nationwide medical problem, right here in Livingston, because it's really a local issue, and we have all of the health support infrastructure that we could ever need to take a leadership position on that. That was July 4th. Looking forward to that, by the way. Third, there's a hole in the ground in Amherst Place where a house used to be. It is literally just a hole in the ground. If you could have the township manager look at that, certainly appreciate that. And lastly, the cannabis issue. Don't do it just for the money, you know. People did not want all the other 5 licenses, really. Or not that they don't want it, but that's not what they were advocating for. They were advocating for retail. If you're going to do the other 5 classes of licenses, take a very close look at who owns the real property in those areas where you authorize these licenses. You know, we've done a horrible job of developing. There is no master plan for our warehouse districts. Perhaps this is an opportunity where we have control to actually develop a master plan for the regions where we authorize this. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Justin. Is there anybody else who'd like to make comment? Madam Clerk, has any written comments been received from your office?
Yes, Mayor, I received...
You will have a 3-minute time limit also.
Okay.
Just checking to make sure. We've done it before.
I received a comment from Eric and Marissa Tucker, 35 Shadow Lawn Drive, on the Broad Lawn Drive flooding. He writes, Barry and council members, can we please get an update on this? We have not gotten any response. Thank you.
Barry, you know, there's been a couple meetings that they've been complaining about that property. Do we have an answer yet?
I will follow up with the engineering department. I know they were looking at solutions. I don't know. I know this is one of the areas that's part of the much bigger.
Problem is that the sewer probably is like 3 inches.
Right,
and
this was part of the area that was studied, and there was, it's something that we need to, you know, I think, there is no immediate solution for that one property. It's a much bigger area. I think with additional development, more impervious surface, the size of the pipes is what the restriction is, and it will require a significant commitment to replace a lot of pipes.
Thank you, Mr. Lewis. Carolyn, anything else from your office?
No, Mayor, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no more comments, may I have a motion to close the public portion on any subject? May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Opposed? Thank you. At this point, we're down to the reports of township officials and professionals. Barry?
Other than, I think I report on what I had to say in conference before, and then the budget stuff we all did tonight, so I don't have anything else, Mayor.
Thank you. Deputy Township Manager Russ Jones?
Nothing for this evening, Mayor.
Thank you. Assistant Township Manager Adam Lerner?
Nothing for this evening.
Thank you. Carolyn, anything?
Nothing for me, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Our CFO, today's popular Ann Cucci?
I just want to thank everyone for their support, and our goal is, when I came here 3 years ago, almost to the day, Barry and I discovered a lot of things, and we've moved mountains to get to where we are today, thanks to you. And our goal is for the future of Livingston, and I'm thrilled to be here for that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Cantor, anything?
Yes, Mayor. We did some research, and it turns out that the resolution to refer to the planning board did come from our redevelopment council. So maybe I suggest reach out to our redevelopment council, get an opinion as to why he sent us that resolution and what he believes the impact of not adopting that resolution is to the ordinance, as that resolution did come from our redevelopment attorney along with the redevelopment plan.
So who's going to follow? Barry, will you follow up, or is it our attorney?
I can reach out to him tomorrow.
Thank you. Council comments. Councilmember Ed Meinhardt, you have anything? Does Carolyn have any comments? Oh, I'm sorry, Carolyn. I did ask her.
Oh, okay.
Geez, you're making me.
All right.
This
No problem. I
red
just wanna
face
make
and
sure.
the pain in my head is killing me right now with this sunburn. No, I'm not embarrassed. It's just it's really hurting right now. Councilmember Ed Meinhardt.
Okay, well, I'll try to make it short. Just a couple of things that took place the last few weeks. A big thank you to Pat Ippolito and the entire Livingston Golf Committee for their wonderful event that we had a week ago Monday. It was a lot of fun being with people from this town. Mr. Diner as well. It was fun being with you, as well as some of the employees. And a great day, great weather, great outing. And a thank you to Cedar Hill as well for sponsoring and for helping us that event. To Corinne Judge and from SYLS and all the veterans who helped plan the Memorial Day Parade. I had the honor of being the liaison. I'm happy to listen to your applause, Justin, on that one, please. So I had the honor of being the liaison this year to this committee. I saw the hard work they did. It was great to walk down Livingston Avenue with my fellow councilmen and people up here as well, and to see everybody come out and appreciate this town, and it was really wonderful. I couldn't help but notice, and it goes along with what happened this evening, when Rabbi Grossbaum was giving his benediction, the church bells were going off at the same time. And you look behind that and you saw all the people who were about to march from all the different ethnic groups that this town has. And you couldn't help but think what a wonderful town that we live in. I thought it was very appropriate that the church bells were going off at the same time that Rabbi Grossbaum was giving his benediction. And so very contrary to what happened as well, what happened this evening to what we gave the recommendation and to the accommodation that we gave this evening to the Asian Pacific group as well. It was wonderful to see that. So that was wonderful to be a part of. And something that took place on Sunday or Saturday and Monday, congratulations to Brian Tevlin, who's from this town. Brian, thank you. Brian scored the winning goal in overtime, so Notre Dame went on into the semifinal round to beat UVA and went on into the finals, and then they beat Duke in the finals. The Tevlin family, who has seen the worst of times, deserves to have the happiest of times, and I couldn't be happier for Alice and to Mike and to all the Tevlins for that wonderful event that took place for them, and so it was great. And a special happy birthday today. He's home. I'm sure he's not watching, but to the West Essex Tribune editor, Mike Izzo. So happy birthday to Mike Izzo as well. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Sean Klein.
I would echo a lot of the things that Councilmember Reinhardt said. One thing I just want to say, it was the first time that we were invited to the PBA and the fire department ceremonies, which took place before the ceremonies at the Oval. And I think it was really great to be there, and we appreciated the invitation on the council. And thank you for inviting us. And we really appreciate. It goes without saying, but the work of the PBA and our incredible fire department, and I know that the mayor and I are going to be sitting on a committee to figure out what we can do to keep a strong volunteer corps with the fire department and first aid, and make sure that if there are things that we can do to express gratitude and entice people to stay, to join, or entice people to stay longer. We're going to try to figure out what we can do as far as that goes. And so I'm looking forward to sitting on that committee with the mayor and meeting with people and trying to hear some ideas about, what we can do to make those organizations stronger, as great as they are. Everything else, I would agree with what Ed said, and it was wonderful yesterday. I think Livingston does Americana better than anybody, and our parade was the best example of that. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilwoman Rosie Begoli.
I mean, every time we repeat the same things that are saying, yesterday's Memorial Day parade was amazing. I mean, the church bells going off was also just very appropriate, very heartwarming, and just want to thank the entire committee and the veterans. And Mr. Alpert's in the audience. I'm going to call you out and say that you were cheering the loudest when we walked down, and you were waving your flag. So thank you for that. I think, yeah, he did. Every resolution that, every proclamation that we did tonight, I think was extremely important. I think that everyone is extremely deserving. But I'm going to just speak about our gun violence resolution tonight. I don't know about ranges in Livingston, but I can say this. No, I will say this. When I started teaching 23 years ago, a baby, I think I was still 20 years old when I took my first position. I thought I was just going to be a teacher in a classroom, inspiring young minds and doing the work that I so loved and that I've loved for 23 years. Sitting today as a principal and superintendent of schools, I never thought that when I decided to be the educational leader or the organizational leader of a school, that my first priority would be to ensure that none of my kids are shot, to make sure that my building is ever protected. And whenever I call a lockdown, and not because it's a drill, but because the police calls me and tells me to immediately put my school in a lockdown, my heart sinks. And I worry about sending home every single child that I serve home with their parents. So when we commemorate or we'll proclaim National Gun Law Violence or awareness or ask for common sense gun laws, I want you to think about that. I want you to think about the fact that we do not have enough teachers available in this state in the classroom because the profession has changed as such. Because we're afraid. We're all afraid. Because every parent who hears that their child's school is in a lockdown is also afraid. Because even though I do not want to take anyone's Second Amendment right, I do want to make sure that every citizen is protected with common sense gun laws that are okay for everyone so that we are all living in safe communities. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Deputy Mayor Al Anthony, is there anything left for you?
I know you have something.
Oh, nobody can beat me today.
You got some
I
stuff?
put a lot of thought into mine.
Okay, then I'll be quick so we get to yours because I don't want to be just repeat. But the Memorial Day parade was phenomenal. I thank everyone who put it together. It was really nice to have breakfast with them on Sunday and talk with them. And it was just a beautiful parade, great weather. And I echo what Sean said with the PBA and the fire department. That was special, being invited to their ceremonies for the first time, and something I hadn't seen in 11 years on the council. Actually, tonight I hadn't seen this in 11 years on the council either. It was unusual, but it was good. Anyway, I yield to you, Mayor.
Thank you very much. And I did put a lot of thought into this because when it gets to Deputy Mayor and myself, there's nothing left. And out of the 8 things I have, only 1 was repeated, but I will repeat it. Again, I do want to thank the Memorial Day Parade Committee for all their hard work and dedication. And even the weather cooperated. It couldn't be any better, as you could tell from my face and my sunburn. So, but some dates to remember also coming up. Summerfest Food Truck Festival and Music Festival will take place at the Gazebo on Saturday, June 11th. Shiv's Third Eye event will take place at the Gazebo area Sunday, June 4th. Please come out and support them. Sunday, June 4th, there will be a pride flag raising at Town Hall at 5:30 p.m. The next Livingston Recycling Day for paper and electronics is Saturday, June 11th at the Senior Community Center from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. That's a Sunday? My calendar must be a year behind. So it's Sunday, June 11th. Thank you. Also want to thank the Livingston Arts Council for the art that they've put on the benches throughout our town. The original pieces will be on display here at the town hall on Thursday, June 8th from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. Throughout the next few weeks, the July 4th committee, as Justin has alluded to, will start advertising their day's events and activities. July 4th is a day full of activities for all ages, and in the past, we've actually expanded over to the Northland area with pickleball and cricket and some food trucks over there. So, and this year we will have transportation that can shuttle back and forth from both locations. There has been some coyote sightings here in Livingston, so please be very careful for everybody, your pets and your children. And the last thing I have to say is a few weeks ago, the town manager, police chief, and town council issued a statement regarding panhandling in our community. Unfortunately, the law is on their side, and it is not illegal to panhandle. They can only be ticketed if they step into the street and disrupt traffic. I am aware that 1 ticket has been issued already. The signs that these 3 people, and we know of 3 people, are holding are asking for help for a little girl with cancer. At this time, there's no proof that that this little girl even exists, let alone is sick. In other states, this same type of panhandling for cancer with the little girl's picture has been proven to be a scam. my message to our residents is please be careful. Livingston is such a generous community, and these people are not leaving because we fill their buckets with cash every single day. Most likely, this is a scam. I can't prove it yet. That's why we haven't done anything legally. Just be careful and just don't fall for it. And that's all I have at this point.
I would just want to add that to the residents who are unaware that if a child does have cancer, that the Ronald McDonald House will help parents in need. We have St. Jude's Hospital who for all fund with $0 to help children in need. And also in the state of New Jersey, all children, no matter their status, are eligible for family care.
Councilwoman, this community is very generous. If it was proven to be true, I know this community would come out full force and support it. Just don't fall for scams. We're about ready to adjourn. Our next council meeting is scheduled for Thursday, June 8, 2023. We are not going into close. We are not going back into conference. May I have a motion to adjourn? May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Thank you. Who won?